Hello, it is me, the guy who does things in games, I suppose. Not in games. Not really. What is my connection doing? It should be fine. Everything good? Everything working? I think so. Yeah, everything should be working. Okie dokie. If I remember correctly, how did you instantly break? What? How? What? What? How? I just I just finished this. I just finished this yesterday. How did you break in between the time? That makes no sense. Does it just need to warm up? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Ah. But it's supposed to. If you're not moving, it's supposed to never be able to do anything, however. So you check mouse, it returns it instantly, and upon being returned, it's supposed to move to point is called is moving is equal to true, meaning this shouldn't be happening. Wait, what has changed? On move, the player, and this gets turned on when is moving is equal to true. Yeah, the player, it should be fine. Wait, does stage 1 never get reset? Like, on check mouse, move to point. Yeah, stage M is reset to 1. These are each just the movement ones, so especially since it can just be like that. If you can hear that, that is the washing machine of my roommates. That might be sounding earlier because they're not very good at picking up their clothes when it rings. Is it the fact that I messed with the timer like this 0.0? If I remove this, does everything go back to normal? That broke again. I think that is because the, Okay, so... I think is on move to point, or it could be the, where is it checked again, if it's I edited the gain on my mic to see if it changed stuff. I don't know. I don't know audio stuff. I know game stuff. It's the rules. There. I've changed it. My position of my mic. Hopefully this sounds better. Maybe. We'll see. If the cord ever gets out of my way. Okay. So just in general, the time isn't long enough because of the addition of this step. So var step time is equal to player.position.distance 2. Okay, this goes there, and the bug is back. Oh wait, first of all, I have no idea how to do audio stuff or stuff like that, so I've changed the position of my microphone so it is millimeters away from my mic, and I turned the gain really far down to try to get rid of that weird electrical humming that I've been hearing. Maybe that'll actually increase things and make it better, or maybe I'm just being a fool. So this quick edit will just add simplicity when editing these. And editing these. This can go here. The bug is back. Reoccurring. My first reoccurring character. Bug in my room. Var step time is equal to player.position is equal to this. However, instead of move point, it's point step. I have no idea. I'm gonna try something stupid. Hello? Hello? I unplugged my mouse and my microphone and I plugged it back in. My solution to nothing. So see this, this, plus step time, no, this, and the bug is back. I missed it. Var step time. That should fix it. why does spam clicking work or affect it? It shouldn't, because the second that is it because of if check mouse is it, then it returns the result collider, but it also changes the exclude. Maybe I should just add this here, where I can do literally nothing. Save it. There's also a weird buffer where if you're holding sprint or holding crouch, it only happens till the next movement. So when you just pressed it and you release it again, it toggles it. All the toggle does is in movement. Is crouch is equal to not crouch, and is sprint is equal to not sprint, so it just moves them around. This should be in here. Sprint is sprint. I think that will... Okay, so... So it's easier to see on the stream. Essentially what I'm testing is sprint pressed, sprint released, right. You'll be able to see it right down here where whenever I press the shift button, it tells me. So when I press it, sprint pressed, and I click forward, I move at significantly faster speeds. When I release, I slow down again. I can also do that for crouch, but that can just be done later. The commenting it out means it doesn't run, obviously. Well, not obviously, if you've never seen it before. It's obvious to me. HUD. I don't like cables. There's cables now because I move things because I'm trying to be more professional or stuff like that. What happens if I don't want to edit my... I'll do it later. Okay, so the stuff that I wanted to do today. I don't know if it's coming, if it's being recorded, but whenever I move my mouse around, I hear a horrific, weird grinding noise in the audio. It doesn't matter. I believe in myself. It's very annoying, but hey, at least it's some company. So, what I think I need to do now is I want to implement a lean mechanic, where essentially all it is supposed to... That does remind me. The cam 2 position, the check left or right. That is done in find rotate camera. I am going to do a separate function that does that check. So these will actually perform... Okay, so I'm going to do organizational stuff first. Okay. Everything below this is, how do I say it? Everything below that is isn't part of like the setup and things that are running every mouse. every mouse every time. So what else I'm going to do is that the move and the rotate, which are done every time, or which are run every time, I am going to Control X, cut them, and put them right here. Above, and the turnaround action, the ones that just the ones that use delta. That's good to remember. Turnaround action and rotate camera. So all of these are the actual things that physically move the player and run every frame when I want them to. These, the ones below it, are just checks. So they check something, they set something, they set things. And that makes me want to do a function check object orientation. So what it currently just pass on turnaround, not on turnaround, on find rotate camera, I do this entire large check where I check to see if the object is to the right or to the left. This works. My brain is dissolving. Okay, so the thing is that find rotate camera is, how do I say it? It's not exactly what I want because it specifically, or like it isn't labeled correctly. Because if I take, what object does it check? It checks direction. It moves off of move point. And I want to make it so it is any object at all off of anything. So essentially what I do is find rotate cam is only happens there, and instead of that I am going to add a variable in here, object location, and what it is going to do is over here, or just object, not object location, just object. Or this is going to put in the move point. So this I want to. Thank you very much. Hey, how you doing? I, since last time, have gotten the movement working beautifully smoothly. I can turn right, I can turn left, I can go forward, I can go back, I can sprint and move really quickly, and I can crouch and move really slowly. And I can get attacked by recurring character number 1, joining the group, joining the cast. It's the bug again. It's back. Currently, I'm doing a little bit of organizational work and a little bit of grunt work, so I'm reformatting my I'm reformatting some of my functions in order to work with anything. For a good example, find rotate camera, all it does is that it determines whether or not an object that was clicked on is to the left or to the right of the camera, on the left or right side. But it specifically works with only a single other function, and that's move to point. If I edit it slightly, I can essentially make it so I can essentially reuse this specific function over and over and over again for multiple points. I'm essentially making it a lot more allowing it to be used multiple times instead of just once for one reason. So I can now do object. And the way I will need it to be done is because this is done in move to point, find rotate camera does this, so it is, I'm going to change this to is right, is to just is right in capitals, and is right, and it, instead of setting all of it itself, so like setting the end rotation itself and all of that, what it is going to do is that this is going to do that if is right. So if this is true, if the camera is to the right, so if the camera is to the right, this, else, nope, no, that's not right, because there's this, because it can't be a true or false. A true or false means that it only ends up at one point. It can end up at 3 points, to the right, to the left, or directly in front, meaning I can't have it return a true or false, meaning I need to have it return a 1, 2, or 3. So is if move point is equal to 1, which is right, or even better, I can just have it return check, and it is if check is larger than 1, if the absolute value of the rest 1 is less than this, the dot check is done. I'm doing more work for myself just for fun. No, I needed to use it again for the... I'm going to kill this bug one day. The fact is that it escapes its eternal damnation yet again. I've also been editing around and messing around with my audio settings in order to try to make it sound better. I have no idea if it's working or not. So, currently at the moment, if this is just grabs that, that does that, that does that, I'm just thinking out loud. If it equals to 1, else if is right is equal to 2, and elif is right is equal to 3. This is this, and if it doesn't, then end rotation is equal to this. Perfect. So end rotation is equal to that. That doesn't work because direction is over here, meaning this would do literally nothing. So what I need to do instead is well, I can just make it look even more complicated. Nope. Okay, so this is replaced with this. And this entire thing gets replaced with that. And now that I've made it look as complicated as humanly possible, width, of course, direction Y. How about instead I just do this? Direction equal to this. var and direction dot y is equal to 0 and direction perfect. So what's next? If check is this, then turn 1, return 3, return 2. These two will make... Why are you giving me an error still? Your brothers aren't giving me an error. Why can't you be more like them? Wait, no. 1, it's right, left, and front. So this is 2. This is 3. This is there. This is false. Why are you giving me an error? Do I have to do this? It's just object minus move point. Move point. And let's see if everything explodes or not. Everything exploded. Dot y, direction dot y. So how was it set over here? Just var direction equals... That is right. So target rotation. How about we just do this? Target rotation. Target rotation. I know, right? Everything explodes because, you know, it takes a really skilled coder to make everything explode when it does it. An unskilled coder would just get errors. Mine have errors with problems. This logic makes no sense the second you think about it, even for a quarter of a second. So I implore you, please do not. I'll cry. Move point. Seems to be working beautifully. And now what I can do is that, first of all, this and this get cut from here. And now the beauty of it is I can now just put essentially this whenever I need to check to see if an object is to the right or to the left. And it can just tell me if the object that I clicked on is to the right or to the left, meaning I can just reuse this function multiple times instead of creating a new one that essentially says the exact same thing when I need to check to see if something's to the right or to the left. As you can tell, I'm pretty smart. I do smart things with smart people, like taxes. Okay, so what? I did do that, correct? Or move to point, step time is equal to 0 originally. Then it is equal to the exact same thing over there, and yeah. That's great. Control save. Now we get to the really, really tricky part. That is that I need a mechanic for... I want the player that if they're holding the space button, or I'm not sure how specifically the controls are going to work, I want them to be able to lean around the corner without actually going around the corner. Which is essentially, it's something well, first of all, it's something that I've never done before. I also want it to be where, because essentially, without it using scripts, what I can essentially try to have it do is I can have essentially a corner hitbox right here, where if you click on the right, or where essentially the player, where you're standing, it essentially shoots a beam in the direction you want to lean in, and I essentially just moves the camera, it leaves the player alone, where essentially I want the player to just, moving... There we go. Essentially, I want the player to just be able to lean and pop back in. Essentially do that, to just peek around corners. And I want it to be dynamic. So I want it to be able, so you like click in the middle of your screen, drag out the mouse, and you can drag out from like just to see here, to see if to just peek a little bit. Or you can put your entire head around if you drag all the way to the other side. So that is both A, something I have never done before, and B, something that is really not common practice in any game development, meaning I don't exactly know where to begin because I am not reinventing the wheel, but I'm inventing the wheel altogether. Step 1, the basics. In the input, I don't exactly know what input, what button or button combination I want to press to see if, to test something. These still need to be able to be accessed from inside it, and test check always needs to be accessed. So I'm just gonna take test check input and put it all the way at the bottom as its own separate thing, because I always want this one to be able to be accessed. However, the click button at all needs to change altogether, where essentially, because you're clicking and dragging around the corner, because you're clicking and dragging around the corner, clicking and dragging around the corner, this entire thing needs to essentially change its function entirely whenever you at essentially at a whim. What Unity usually does is that it has multiple input maps, where essentially you can have multiple of these maps, multiple essentially sets of inputs, and for like different modes or different things, you can change the like, for example, if you're in a vehicle, it switches to car controls, where essentially you can just have all of these switch automatically by just switching essentially one value to another. I have no idea if Godot supports that in any way, and looking at this, it doesn't look like it does. I can look it up. Does Godot support multiple input maps? It does not. I was right. Hooray, my job is harder. Okay. Yay, native Blender support. I knew that already. I'm just happy to be reminded. Okay, so this is left down mouse button. Does this mean hold? I don't know. Listening but input, left mouse button. Yeah, okay, so I can just have that. Okay. So starting with the basics. I am going to need a variable, and I'm probably going to have it on one or the other, where just if it's being held, it's true. Once it's released, it's false. For the input check, so I can have a var named is leaning equaling false, because you don't. I missed the bug. I was so close and I missed him. My hand was... I actually did hit him, but because my hand was cupped and it was at a really awkward angle, I essentially just covered the bug with my hand and then I just scared him. I did it to scare him. Okay, because you don't start leading. Essentially, if is leaning... If the player is leaning, then he does something. Pass. Else, you are able to do this. I also need, essentially the way it works is that because I don't want to interrupt this, if the player is moving, the player is not allowed to lean. Same thing if the player is rotating, if the player is essentially doing anything. However, turning around also turns is moving to true, meaning I don't really need to work around that in particular. So, figuring it out, I need to add an input action. I think for now, I can edit the specifics of it later. For now, I am going to add new action, lean. This is going to be done by the spacebar. Where essentially if input dot is action pressed. So if it is at all pressed and being pressed at all, and the press will be lean. Well, first of all, I need to learn how to type. This will get the... If the action was pressed was leaned, and movement dot get is moving, just so you're unable to do this while you're moving. Is leaning is equal to true. If input dot is action just released, lean. That was a phone call. Take that later. Let me just let them know that I'll take it later. There we go. So if it is just released, is leaning equals false. Very simple. So for now, if you're moving, and I press the spacebar, however, and this allows me that because it's pressed and not just pressed, essentially if it runs every single time it physically can, so long as I'm holding it down on the spacebar, while these just work, essentially just run, while these run once, this runs every single time. So I think Yeah, I'm holding the space button. I can't do anything. I let go of it. I can move. I should be unable to turn around while I'm leaning. No, I'm not, because that is a button. If... Wait a minute, does that mean... One moment. Oh, right, I did a preventative measure, but however, if is leaning, or just if is leaning, if is not leaning, there we go. So now if I'm leaning, I can't press the turnaround button, and this would delete itself or essentially become inaccessible while I'm leaning, so you just can't spin around. Yep, I'm holding the space button. While I'm holding the space button, I physically can't do. I have no idea what happened. I think that... Oh no, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Okay. I think the problem where if you double press still works, yeah, I think it prioritizes the movement rather than the turnaround. Well, it doesn't prioritize. It's just the fact that it runs at different times, and because of that, turnaround doesn't do anything. Okay, so I've been doing a lot of what I think to be procrastination, considering I've been here for 40 minutes and all I've done is incredibly minor bug fixes. So, how do we do this? Currently, the object has to be in a specific area. If I move to here, I'll be right here, meaning the point. Yeah, progress is progress, but it is... Game development is one of those things where the progress is always, unless you're really experienced, it's always achingly slow progress, and it can be very demoralizing. So if I'm right here, the area right to my right is this wall. I could have a, what is essentially a, and this is me brainstorming right here, just a static body 3D, just for temporarily. Here, buddy, have a... What do these guys have again? God, it's been... Right, a collision shape. Have a collision shape, buddy. You are now a rectangle. I have birthed you. Go over here. I could have... what is equivalent to a rectangle over here. I could just give this wall a hitbox. And I could find essentially, the way I'm trying to figure it out is, I'm not certain, but there could be a way to essentially, once I find this object, I find the edge of it, because this, I think that is the bounding box of the object. I'm not sure. Or essentially what I'm thinking of trying to do is I find... Because this is a corner, I can reuse it multiple times. Nope. All the way to the bottom. All the way to the top. I find this. I find this edge, and I go slightly behind it. So essentially the player, it locks onto the wall. And it finds the closest edge, in a sense, or like the left-hand corner, because if I'm facing a wall, if I'm facing this wall, I'm going to need to perform a check if the closest edge is to the right or to the left, and then go to the closer one, or something like that. I'm not sure, which is why I said I could probably go ahead and get just, instead of having mesh instances, or for the walls, I could essentially just have this go all the way here, where essentially what you would do is it connects to the wall, it finds the closest edge, and puts you, and essentially puts not you, but the camera itself, like, right here. And then, when you let go of the spacebar, it puts you back to, it essentially just puts the camera back to where it was. So it's either moves from here to here. And that's how the camera moves. However, I'm not certain at where at the specific, if you can even find the edge of an object. I know for absolutely you can find its location, which, this would, and the bug is back. Hooray. God save the queen. Okay, so the current... You have an entire room that I'm not using. Go away. It flew into my eyes again. Okay, so that's my current thought process. That is one way of doing it. The other way is I could essentially connect a script and a point to each one of these, but again, I don't want to do that because that requires me setting up every single point and every single script instead of just using rectangles. Instead of just using rectangles and placing them essentially around the place. It requires me to, whenever I need to set up an intersection, I need to like determine whether... Sure, go ahead. Whether anyone's watching or not, I can still talk to myself. I can still be entertaining. You'll remember this one day when I'm famous. Yeah, well, cheers. I have about 15-20 minutes left of this. So, yeah. See ya, man. See you next time. Thank you very much for coming to hang out. Bye-bye. So, if that is there, that is the advantage of that, so... It might be I need raycasts again. Where essentially what I do is I go here, and it's a raycast that can essentially only look at these kinds of objects. And it's a ray that goes from... Essentially, it looks right, and then it just goes this, and it just keeps moving slightly until it stops. It locates the point where it stops, and that is difficult. Oh, right, I can get mesh instances have bounding box. I don't need a hitbox at all. You there, die. I've killed it. God save me. I have tried. I get a lot of electrical humming. Whenever I put an input, I get a lot of electrical feedback. And apparently what I am seeing is that each how do I call it? Each mesh instance actually has a bounding box or a bounding area like this, which I can reference. I can get the position around the objects. Okay, so we are going to create a new script. Attaching it to the... Nope, not to the main game. I'm going to need to do that. Well, yeah, sure, fine. Okay, I don't... you get a new script. It's called the test script. And it's going to be not in scenes. I don't know why it always decides to go try to save it in scenes when it's always should go to scripts. Okay. This is, as everyone rightfully has guessed, a test script. At export var mesh instance, which is a mesh instance 3D. Save. Why are you yelling out? Hooray! I'm going to choose this one, named Fred. Hello, Fred, just so I can easily find you. There we go. And now, in the process, you will be... First of all, its own special spot. Second of all, just gonna jam you in there. Func test. Print. Hello. So this test is going to just have some things like var boundary is equal to mesh instance dot get. Nope. Bubba. And I print boundary. Far too big, and -5, -5, -5, 1, 1, 1. Those points, those are obviously vector 3s. If I go to here, center it around it, okay, so considering that's 1 and that's -5, 1, 1, 1, what does that mean? And you can get... It returns 2 main pieces of information. the bound's position and the bound's size. Oh, so that's position and size. It is at negative 0.5, negative 0.5, negative 0.5. Does that work, or am I going insane? This is going to crash instantly. Who guessed it? I did. I am a genius. I don't know. So it gets the, I think that's the position to the, yeah, there we go. Okay, so the transform and the size is, this thing is huge. Are you sure that's just, well, first let me just, 0.5, 0.5, 111. Fred here's a big boy. He's a lot bigger than 111. Or is it because of this? Is it taking the full area? God, this... I'm gonna need to fix this before next time, but whenever I move, I'm getting so much... The thing is that I have two ways to plug in my, my headphones. I can either... And that's another viewer banned. One messages, account created July 13th, 2026. Oh, that's an account's been, no, not monitor. How do I ban you? Oh, there it is. Oh, timeout and banned. Yay! I've banned my first bot! I jokingly banned them before when I first got them, but I didn't really, so I don't think it's this because, wait, skill is 111. If I increase that, do I... No, I don't. I don't change that. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, especially since the area is still at the origin, it looks like. Yeah, it still seems to be part of the origin. So it doesn't make sense to get the 0.05. Then what is it? So if I move you up and then nothing's changed there. If I mess with your scale, nothing's changed there. But it's very obviously much different. Is it because it's part of this? So if I move you out into main game, it's still the exact same. So what is this giving me? Three position. Size. Boundary dot position is just going to give me the 0, 0 point end. It ends at 0 0.5, 0 0.5, 0 0.5. Oh, wonderful. Oh, wow. Two pieces of information. Fact is that if the problem is that when I change the size, I don't want to unwrap you. Well, I think I'm going to stop for today. I need to do a little bit more research on what I can actually do with this, because if I can get the bounding box for the areas, or like the area this is in, then I can just grab the edges or just find the specific point. And also, if you've noticed, people are cleaning nearby. If you can hear it, I can hear it. And I'm getting a headache, so I will see you all in the next time. See you guys later. And a bug's back. Would you like to make a statement at least? Statement on how much you're gonna burn when you get to hell? Bye bye.